Hey guys, Yak and Patton here. I'm going to explain the two baits to use during striper season on the Hudson River this spring, and that's bloodworms and herring. Bloodworms can be picked up at any of the bait stores locally. I even think the big stores like Dick's and Gander Mountain sell them, but the three stores that I know that are locally owned are Vinny's Bait and Tackle in Wappingers, Hook, Line, and Sinker up in Red Hook, and Sealy's up in Walden. Now, these baits range from anywhere from $9 to $13 for a dozen. You can buy flats, and sometimes the bait store will sell them a little cheaper in flats, but usually they're the range from $9 to $13 a dozen. Now, with that being said, you're usually going to catch smaller fish with bloodworms. Not saying you can't catch bigger fish with bloodworms, but usually the slot fish, like from 18 inches to 28 inches, will hit bloods over chunk. Not saying that they won't hit chunk, but this early in the season, as the water is cold, they're not really going after herring that much, as I experienced. You guys, hey, listen, if you caught them off chunk early, props to you. I've never seen it. I haven't experienced it. The second bait is herring, and with herring, you're going to want to get as fresh as possible. Please do not use frozen herring. I've never caught a decent striper off of frozen. Actually, I don't think I remember catching any stripers off of frozen herring. I've only caught catfish off of frozen herring. If that's what you're into, I mean, you can go ahead and catch a bunch of catfish, which is cool. There's like 10, 15-pound catfish in the Hudson River. You know, I'm not bashing the cat fishermen at all, but if you want to catch stripers, you gotta go fresh. And when I mean fresh, I mean catch them the same day and either fish them that day or fish them the next day. I usually throw them on ice and replenish the ice throughout the day. They will hold over overnight, and they're usually good by morning if you catch them the night before. That's cool. Now, to catch your bait, there's two types of ways that I know personally. There's scap netting, and then there's sabiki. Sabiki requires a rig, and they usually come in many colors, many sizes. I use 6, if it's gonna focus. I don't think it is. But the hook size is 6, and I usually use the ones with the little red dot. Not saying these are the only ones I carry, but this is my usually go-to sabiki rig. I also like to carry another sabiki that, you know, it's my second choice. It's these guys right here. They're a little like off chartreuse color. They're still small, and they work pretty well. And you're going to want to jig them. You take them off the little packaging, and they usually come in a string, and there's 6 hooks, little flies. They look like little flies, and there's going to be a little swivel at the end. Actually, there's going to be a swivel at 2 ends. There's going to be a snap swivel and then just a regular swivel. The regular swivel you're going to attach to your main line on a fishing rod. Use a bass rod, use a trout rod. I use, honestly, this trout rod right here. That's how I catch my herring. You'll see it as you take it apart. You'll untangle it, and it'll be a long strand of flies. So at the end of this strand, when you attach it to your line, you're going to attach something called a stoolie. Now, a stoolie represents a herring, and these herring usually follow other herring. They're curious, they're horny, they're, you know, maybe they gather in clusters to hunt. I mean, if they see a group of little bait fish, they're all going to gang up on these bait fish and try to attack those bait fish. Usually I cut the little hook off right here, because in New York State, you're not allowed to have any more than 6 hooks, I do believe. I might be wrong, it might be 5, but I believe it's 6. And it's perfectly acceptable to cut that hook off, because Mr. DEC officer will come over and say, hey, how many hooks do you have on your sabiki rig? And boom, $250 fine. You could have spent that money buying bait, like bloodworms or something like that. But anyway, which, you know, honestly, let me fast forward that. I'd rather cut one of these off than that hook, to be honest with you. So there's two ways of doing this. You either cut one of these off, or you cut this off, because I've had Believe it or not, it's probably only happened a half a dozen times in my life, but I've had 25-inch, 30-inch stripers hit my stoolie while I was sabikiing. Now, where you sabiki, you can sabiki in the Hudson, you can sabiki in little tributary creeks. Now, what I recommend is going on Google Maps, looking at all the tributaries on the Hudson River. From Hudson, New York, all the way down to Yonkers, there are tons of tributaries. Any little creeks that run into the river, there's going to be herring packed in there, as long as the water levels are high enough and keep everything flowing. But that's how I find herring, guys, and that's what bait I use for striper fishing. If you like these videos, like, subscribe. I got a few more coming out. I probably got many more coming out. I'm going striper fishing actually tomorrow. I'm buying bloodworms. I'll have the GoPro on, and hopefully I catch a fish. I'm only spending maybe like 2 or 3 hours out there tops, but we'll see how I do. I hope this video helps a lot of people that are trying to get into striper fishing and understand the different types of baits and understand the certain rigging that comes along with striper fishing. This is what I do, and if you got something different going on, you know, please comment and share your information, share your knowledge. I mean, hell, do a video yourself. I'll watch it, I'll like it, and I'll comment myself. Tight lines, guys. More videos to come out, and tight lines, good times.